Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's Monday morning, and we're back again for another day of our Advent tea calendar, day 5. Papa Jim's at work today, so unfortunately, you're just stuck with me. I think he and I make such a fun team, and I know you guys love it when he's able to come on the lives. But unfortunately, he was up at the butt crack of dawn and on his way to work, and I won't get to see him till well after the sun sets tonight. So today I'll just be dedicating my day to spending a little bit of time with you, trying our new tea, and then cleaning up the house from the mayhem of the weekend. Because when I'm home with Papa Jim on the weekend, A, you know that Saturday we went on an excursion, but B, good morning, little house in the big woods. On Sunday, when we didn't travel anywhere, I just like to spend my time with Papa Jim. So I don't do the laundry, I don't do the dishes, I don't clean anything up. The place is a mess. But I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. My goodness, how rude. I'd rather spend time with him because there's always going to be dishes. There's always going to be housework, but my time with him is precious. So I spend time with him. So having said that little bit, how was everybody's weekend? I hope you had a nice weekend. I had such a wonderful weekend. Thank you. Gesundheit. Thank you. I had such a nice weekend with Papa Jim. However, on Saturday, he even said, I feel a little off. And I said, I've been feeling off for about a week. And then on Sunday, he's like, I just feel tuckered. He says, I feel tired. I don't feel good. So he was in bed from like 2:00 in the afternoon on, which then I guess there's my excuse for not doing any housework. I could have done housework but I laid down and took a nap. So I spent my time with him that way too. But I don't know. I think we're fighting off a little bit of sinus, or maybe it's because we've been running the heater more, but I do have a humidifier going. So I don't know. We just feel off. We feel like we've, tossed back a couple, and, what are you going to do? Anyways, let's get on to our tea. I'm not expecting a lot of people here today because people have taken time off of work. They're on vacation. They're getting ready for the holidays, and that's okay. I appreciate those of you who are able to stop in. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, make sure you do that and hit the notification bell so you know when I post new videos. The weekend did go fast, didn't it? It did. It did go fast, and unfortunately, that's just the way things are, it seems like. But you know what? The last week went really quick, too. Monday through Friday went very quickly for me last week, but then that means, the weekend feels like it goes that much quicker. And I can't believe we're already on day 5 of our tea. So let's get out our little Advent calendar here for day 5, and we'll open her up here. Let's see if I can bring it down. Push this back a little bit. I just love it. It's so cute. And I'm sure you guys can see when you watch this, you can see the little diorama here. I mean, it is 3D. It's like a little window with all of those cute little cutouts and everything. It is so stinking cute. I love that little fox. So we're looking for day 5. And because I'm already feeling a little off, trying to find it. Is this, whoops, wrong one. Is this 5 right here? Is that 5? It is. This is 5 right here. So let's pull number 5 out, and let me set our thing aside here. We're going to not put it too far away because I have to read what the ingredients are on our day 5 tea. So let me grab my glasses that don't make me look smarter, but make my butt look big. There we go. Day number 5 in this pretty little maroon box. Look how cute that is. Ooh, this is a pretty one. Let me show you what it looks like before I even read. I'm going to say there's marigold in here, and I'm going to say there's rose petals in here. That's what it looks like to me. Let me see if I can hold it up here and show you all of the pretty little elements of this tea. Isn't it a pretty little tea? Look how pretty that is. Let's read it and see what it is. It is called, Blueberry Fields Forever. Blueberry Fields Forever. Doesn't that sound divine? Let's look on the back of our chart here to see what Blueberry Fields Forever has in it. And they're not in order, so always have to search to see where it is. Blueberry Fields Forever, I found it. It has apple, and then in parentheses it says apple and citric acid. I imagine that's to keep the apple from turning brown. oolong tea, hibiscus blossoms, bean peels. What? Bean peels. Natural blueberry and pomegranate flavoring, blueberry leaves, elderberries, violet blossoms, butterfly pea flowers. I can't say that. Say that fast. Butterfly pea flowers, cornflower, blueberries, pomegranate blossoms, and stevia extract. So it's already sweetened, so I don't have to worry about sweetening it. I was wrong with the marigold. I don't see any marigold listed in the ingredients, but it looks like it in there. So that's something that's in there. But blueberry leaves, who knew you could have blueberry leaves? Good morning, Gwen. Good morning. Okay, so that is our tea of the day. Blueberry Fields Forever. You know, I can't say it. I want to sing it. Blueberry Fields Forever. Okay, there we go. Oh, this is such a pretty tea. Oh my gosh. You know what? It is so pretty. Forgive me. I have to. I have to do it. Oh, wait, is my phone even charged? It's not. Here, I was going to take a picture of it, a top down, because it's so pretty. So, okay, you'll see it when we do the tea leaf dance. You'll see it. So let's get our diffuser, and we'll go ahead and bring the camera down, and I'll see if it can show me adding our little leaves here. I'm going to get my little spoon, and this is one. We're not going to use our bunny rabbit. We're going to use our infuser today. We're going to put about half of our container here. Oh my gosh, so pretty. This really is a beautiful little tea. A little bit more. You get a lot in these little containers. You don't realize just how much half of it is. So pretty. And we'll put the lid back on. So we're just going to set this aside for a second because we have to warm up our tea. Now, according to our ingredients here, it's an oolong tea. Oolong teas require a different temperature. And I took my glasses off. Everybody relax while my butt gets bigger. Blueberry Fields Forever is going to require 195 degree water temperature. So I've got my tea kettle here with, it's so great. You guys, in the section, in the description box of our first 2 weeks, and I'll catch the other weeks up as well, I put the link for this tea kettle that lets you brew at the proper temperature. So we want 195 degrees. I have oolong is 190 on this, but this is an oolong tea. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the oolong setting and press start, and that's going to warm our water up to the proper temperature, and then we'll get to see the tea leaf dance because it's so fun and pretty. Okay. I haven't really thought, I thought a little bit about what story I wanted to share today from my blog, and I'll get that started in a second here. I was getting things ready to go to bed last night. Like I said, Papa Jim had gone to bed way early yesterday. He wasn't feeling well. And when I was getting everything ready for bed, I noticed that he had everything set out here on the kitchen island for his work day. His glasses, his wallet, his keys, his belt, everything was sitting right here with a fresh uniform. And so I was getting everything ready, and I wrote him a little letter. You know, I just got a little sticky pad, and it just says, I love you, love me. And then he wrote ditto before he went to work. And I love little things like this. And I like to think if you write little notes to the people you love, maybe if they're having a rough day, they can think back on, you know, that you cared enough to write them a little note. And I know that if I'm having a tough day, you know, I just know that he wrote ditto. And that's kind of a thing with us, is the whole movie Ghost, you know, I love you, ditto. We do that all the time. So I'm going to keep this. I'll probably put it on the fridge and keep it for a little while. But I like it when we write little notes back and forth to each other. And fun story is underneath this kitchen island, when we were building the kitchen island, did he write it or did I write it? I think I wrote it. The George Strait song, Do You Love Me? Check yes or no. And so I wrote, Do you love me? And I did a little yes and no box, and he checked yes. And we wrote on what date it was. And it's actually underneath the countertop here, underneath on our little kitchen island. The tea water is warming up. I don't know if you can hear it. So having said that about writing notes to people that you care about, Why does my phone always ring when I'm watching lives? I know, put it on airplane mode. But no, it's important because people have to know that they can get in touch with you in case there's an emergency. I get that. So let me see if I can find. Oh, do I not have my blog up? Let me get my blog up real quick. For those of you who ever want to jump ahead, it's My Life as a Grape is my blog. So now I have to find, where did I put that story? Is it in 2011? I thought I had it pulled up, but apparently I didn't. But there was a story about writing notes that I wanted to share with you guys, and I just have to find it. Because the interactions that you have with people on a daily basis sometimes can make all the difference. I found it. Okay. I imagine we're pretty close to our tea water almost being done. So while we're waiting for that to finish up, I will just tell you that this story that I want to share with you today, this is a true story. My stories that I write in my blog are real instances, things that have happened to me that I like to share. I like handwriting notes and sending them out on little fun stationery. Yes. And isn't that something that in this day and age of technology, we've lost? We don't do handwritten things anymore. We text, we send memes, we send links to things, but it's rare that we actually take the time to write something. There's our water. So I'm not even going to get into the story yet. Let's pour the water. And while our oolong tea, how long was oolong tea supposed to steep for? Let's see how long we're supposed to steep this for before I even pour it. 4 to 5 minutes, okay? So I'm going to set my iPad aside with our story. Going to bring our camera back down to the countertop. Bring our tea over. And hopefully you'll be able to see the beautiful tea leaf dance as we do our Blueberry Fields Forever. I cannot wait to taste this. I bet you this is going to be so good. And here we go with our tea leaf dance. Oh, that's so pretty. Isn't that beautiful? And it's already turning a beautiful color. It's got a beautiful, as I look through, it's got like a red hue to it. Oh, it smells nice too. I wish you guys could smell this. Oh, very nice. I'm going to close the lid on it so it will steep properly. Note the time is 10:28. So we're going to let this steep for a full 5 minutes. I think I'm going to want to let it go a little bit longer. Gwen says, I leave notes for my husband. He leaves notes for me. When the kids were younger, I left them notes if I wasn't going to be home when they got home from school. My mom did the same. Isn't that neat? I love that. I love that. I think it's so important that we care for each other in that way. So let me tell you about this story about the time that I wrote some notes, okay? So while our tea is steeping, this story is called Operation Beautiful. So it was written on Thursday, November 17th, 2011. So a little over 11 years ago. So Operation Beautiful. I am a very impulsive, but sometimes thoughtful creature. At times, I manage to get things right in a big way. One day, while perusing the internet and writing my blog, I came across another blog, one with a positive message and a quest for starting a public movement that I believed warranted a little bit of my participation and devotion. I had stumbled across a site called Operation Beautiful. And I don't know if their blog is still up. It's been a while since I've checked it. The mission statement from this site states, let me start that one over. The mission statement from this site, Operation Beautiful, states the following. The goal of the Operation Beautiful website is to end negative I can't talk today. Negative self-talk or fat talk. Oh my gosh, didn't I just make a joke about my glasses making my butt look fat? And here I am breaking my own rules. Good morning, Denise. It's quite all right. Anytime you show up is a blessing. So continuing on with this mission statement, If this little blog only does one productive thing, I hope it helps readers realize how truly toxic negative self-talk is. It hurts you emotionally, spiritually, and physically. All right, I won't tease anymore about my glasses making my butt look big. I can't promise that because I'll do it, but I'll make an honest effort, okay? So the followers of this other blog, Operation Beautiful, are encouraged to secretly and anonymously post messages of positive self-worth in random locations. Now, at the time, I had a secret stash of pretty Post-it notes in my desk at work. Some of the Post-its have been treasured for almost 10 years. I guarantee you, if I go up to my office supplies right now, I still have some of those Post-its, which would make them over 20 years old. I hate to use them on something frivolous. I actually hoard pretty Post-its and will chastise anyone who touches my precious. And that's true. When I worked at a school, if a child would come up and say, I need a pass for something, I'd write it on just a random yellow customary Post-it note and hand it to them, tell them go on their way. The ones that had hearts and flowers and pretties, I didn't use them unless I saved them for things that I felt were a little more worthy. Good morning, Nicole. Good morning. Listening while working. I'm glad you're here. Operation Beautiful had posted a challenge for readers to anonymously place unlimited messages of self-worth on a specific date and time. I accepted the challenge. Oh, good morning. Good morning, Laura. As the date neared, I got to keep an eye on our time. We need 2 more minutes of our tea. As the date neared, I diligently penned my own positive affirmations. Some were simple, some were profound. And when the moment was right, I slipped away from my desk at work and placed pretty little affirmation Post-it notes all over my workplace. Post-it notes on the bathroom mirrors, Post-it notes on coworkers' computer monitors, Post-it notes on the copy machine. I was stealthy. Nobody caught me, and I was very proud of my accomplishment that I had done this anonymously. I even giggled to myself when I started hearing people ask about the Post-it notes around the offices. I denied all inquiries when anybody asked me if I knew what was going on. I didn't know a thing about it, but thought that it was a pretty cool thing. Now, I'm not done with our story, but we're going to pour our tea and I'll come back because this is where our story is going to take a turn. It's a tearjerker, I promise. Okay. So everybody's saying their good mornings. I'm so glad that friends can get together during our tea time and say hello to everybody. So here's our coffee or our teacup. Got it at the dollar store. I have pretty little China ones, but I want you to be able to see the tea. So here's my little teacup. I'm going to bring this down. And let's take a look at our tea. Look at that beautiful color. Can you see the beautiful color of our tea? And they're still dancing in there. Those leaves, those tea leaves are still doing their beautiful little dance in that perfectly temperatured water. So nice. I love it. Here's our cup, and we're just going to set this on here, and we're going to get our tea into, oh my gosh, look at the color. Oh, that's a beautiful tea. That is lovely. Blueberry Fields Forever. Oh my gosh, isn't that pretty? Isn't that a pretty tea? I broke one of my Fire King dessert bowls this morning while putting the dishes up. Oh no. Oh, Nicole, the flavor is Blueberry Fields Forever. Isn't that a fun name for a tea? I love it. Oh, it smells nice. Oh, that smells so pretty. I think it's a little bit warm yet for me. I got some cups like your tea from the dollar store, says Denise. Awesome. Do I think the infuser is the way to go? Absolutely, Denise. Absolutely. I've got my little bunny rabbit tea infuser that Papa Jim bought for me, but it doesn't allow the tea leaves to dance and unfurl in that hot water. This would be good for our fruit infusions, but not for anything that has the tea leaves that need to unfurl. So this was recommended for the cider, the apple cider tea that we had the other day. Marlene over at Snow Gardener 307 said to use the infusers and just leave it sitting in the tea because it allows the fruit a little bit more. This one is more of a tea, but with the fruit in it. I went with the infuser. I love the infuser. If you go back to day 1 and day 2, I did put a link to Amazon where you can get one of these infusers. So don't have to, but it's there for you if you'd like. So I do think it is an important thing to have. That is beautiful. I like your little tea craft as well. That's what we were just talking about, this little infuser. And it comes with a little coaster. So when you're done infusing it into your cup, when you're done pouring it into your cup, you can just set it right here on the little coaster. But what I like about it, Laura, is you infuse in it, and then once this lever pushes up underneath, it pours out from the bottom right into your cup. Ooh, look, we got a little extra tea out of that little demonstration. Woohoo! So you need a bunny that wiggles its behind in the water. I know. The first time I tried the bunny, I was like dunking him and swirling him, but it just didn't allow the leaves to do that beautiful tea leaf dance that we just saw when we had our infuser. So I'm going to let this cool a bit, and let's get back to our story because I promise it's going to take a turn. I'm going to try to read it without crying, okay? But if I cry, forgive me. But I get that way. Okay, so back to our story about our Post-it notes for Operation Beautiful. Glasses. Okay, so I've gone around my work office and I've placed all of these Post-it notes. So let's get back. Okay, I've denied having any involvement in putting these little Post-it notes everywhere. And then, there's always an and then. A male co-worker, dog, 1 second. Okay, go lay down, be a good girl. Go lay down and be a good girl. That dog, I'm telling you, sometimes she's so needy. In, out, in, out, in, out she goes. Okay. Now go lay down so I can cry in peace. Let's go ahead and get that there. All right. Let me start that paragraph over. And then a male co-worker who I barely knew from another suite. I had gone all over our school. From another suite had come into my cubicle with the sticky that I had placed on his computer. And in my mind, I can still remember I had gone into his office. He was in charge of curriculum. I had gone into his office and he had just slipped into the bathroom. So it's like, oh, this is going to be easy because I'm just going to put it on there. He doesn't even know I'm here. And I ran out. He had the Post-it note. And the Post-it note simply said, "You are loved." That's all it said. He holds up the Post-it note to me. He says, "Did you do this?" I said, "Do what?" "Did you put this on my computer?" I stepped away from my computer for less than a minute, and when I came back, this was on my computer. He held up the sticky again so I could read it because I'm acting like I have no idea what he's talking about. Huh? Wow. No, I've been at my desk almost all morning. I lied. I could tell that he wasn't buying it, but I held fast to the fact that I didn't know anything about it. And then I noticed that as he was looking at the ground in front of him, little salty tears started welling up in the corner of his eyes, and they threatened to spill out onto his cheeks. "If you did this," he said, "thank you. I really needed to hear this right now." I stood up and I gave him a wink and a little smile and a hug, still denying that I had put that sticky note on his monitor. He hugged me back and he held on tight. He didn't let go. And he just kept saying, "Thank you." "I have no idea what you're talking about," I lied again. "But you are loved," I told him truthfully. As I stated earlier, I didn't know this coworker very well. My relationship with him was nothing more than a friendly, professional one. He had always been helpful and kind, but I really knew nothing more about him. I didn't know anything about his home life, his personal life. I didn't know that he was going through a very messy divorce and a custody battle. And at that moment, he was questioning whether or not life was worth sticking around for. Just when his life was appearing to be at the lowest point, a little butterfly post-it note reminded him that he has blessings in his life and he was loved. He was going to commit suicide that day when he got home. He shared that with me. Things had gotten so bad and he thought he was going to lose his kids, and things were just so bad he was going to commit suicide. But getting that little post-it note and reminding him that he was loved, it pulled him out of it. I went home from work that day with a renewed sense of purpose. I was reminded that even the smallest gesture can be monumental to someone else. I was reminded that everyone has a story before they reach us, and we need to recognize and be sensitive to that. I was happy, and yes, I was even proud that I had held on to those post-it notes and had taken the time to follow through with this little project. My post-it notes had more than served their purpose. Those little butterflies, hearts, and flower post-it notes stayed up on the mirrors and the computers for many, many months after I had placed them there. The cleaning crews would clean the mirrors around each and every one of them. They never took them down. I would catch a glimpse of them on monitors as I walked past coworkers' desks. So much good came from each little piece of paper. So here is your challenge, dear reader. This is actually my blog. I challenge people in the blog. I challenge you to make a difference in someone's life today. Take one simple little piece of paper and anonymously tell someone that they matter, that they are loved. It's not difficult to do. Even put one up in the mirror in your own bathroom, because you are loved too. P.S. If you get a chance, please visit operationbeautiful.com and like them on Facebook. Like I said, this has been 11 years. I don't even know if they're still in operation. Yes, the ripple effect. I think the message here is an important one for all of us. So that was my little thing there. And, the young lady who encouraged me to actually start this blog, she commented on it 11 years ago. And she said, crying at work is not a good look for me. She read it. And of course, she was both my boss and the gentleman. And I never told anybody who that gentleman was. But I'm happy to report that I'm still friends with him on Facebook. He has since gotten married to a lovely young lady, and his children are grown. He's been able to witness and be a part of all of those challenges that he thought were life-ending. He thought he was losing everything. He thought it was the end of his world. He actually ended up getting custody of his children, raised his boys, all of the baseball games and the childhood school plays and award ceremonies that he posts. I just get a tingle inside thinking that almost could have been missed. I'm not saying I saved his life, but I'm saying a positive affirmation from somebody anonymously made all the difference in his world when he needed it. And he decided on that day to not go home and take his life. And amazing. He's gone on and completed more courses in college, and he's gotten more degrees. He's really, really doing well for himself. And I'm so pleased that he's still with us, and I get to call him friend. It's amazing how far just a little thing can go. Yes. I think I will include a note similar in each of my Christmas gifts. Gwen, that's beautiful. That would be wonderful. And for those of you who want to do this as well, there's nothing saying you can't put them on people's windows on their car. I think a really neat place to do them is on the gas pump. When you stop to put gas and you just put it on the gas pump, and if you tell somebody that they're important or they're special or they're loved, and they read that when they're pumping their gas, that can have that ripple effect. Maybe they're having a bad day and they see that, and it softens them just a little bit so that they're a little bit more careful after they leave when they're pumping their gas, and maybe it'll avoid an accident or road rage or crying on the road. Who knows what it can do? It can have such a wonderful, as was stated earlier by Little House, a beautiful ripple effect. So that is my story for today, just based on the fact that I'm hoping the little letters that Papa Jim and I leave for each other have a ripple effect on our day. I know he has really tough days sometimes, and I'm hoping that little extra "I love you" just lets him know that he's thought of during the day, and it is a positive thing. But, having said that and reading our story, let's try our tea before we move on to our next thing. Let's see. Okay, look at the beautiful color of the blueberry tea. You can almost see me through it, but not quite. So it's a beautiful, beautiful, gosh, I don't even know what color this is. It's almost red. I don't know if you could see the reflection on my hand right here as the sun comes through the window. It's an overcast day. It looks like, you know what? It looks like a pomegranate juice, and it has pomegranate in it. I often pay for another person's drink at a gas station. Maybe I can add a little note. See there? And the thing is Post-it notes are so inexpensive, and you get so many of them in a little packet. They're a fun, what would be a fun thing? As Gwen said, maybe you can put them in the Christmas notes, your Christmas note with your Christmas gift. Include a packet of beautiful little Post-it notes. Include the Post-it notes too. Wouldn't that be fun? And then they can go forward and leave little things. I'm telling you, I loved the color of the tea matches my nail color. Awesome. I hadn't noticed that. Let me, these are like the Post-it notes I had. See the little flowers in all the different colors? I loved them. I loved them. So I still haven't sipped my tea because, I just talk forever. Okay, so let's see. I'm missing my fingernail polish on this nail, though. It came off. I have to redo my nails. Okay, let's take a sip. Let's take a sniff and then a sip, and I will report back how this is. Let's see here. It's fragrant. It's lovely. It's not overpowering. Yesterday was a little overpowering on my sensitive tummy, but today this is not overpowering. Let's try a sip. Oh, that's nice. I want you to imagine a warmed, you know how you can get the pomegranate blueberry, like the an acai little fruit drink, like a energy drink, but not energy. You know what I'm talking about. They're called Bay. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of a really nice vitamin-infused beverage that you get out of the cooler at the gas station, and you drink it cold. But if you were to warm it, that's what this is almost like. Cut. What did I do? Cut. It's a sniff and sip. Okay, so let's see. The amount of stevia is nice. It's not overly sweet. And, pomegranates have a little bit of a tang, and so do blueberries have a little bit of tang. And you catch that just on the edge of your tongue where those taste buds are that pick up on the tart. So you get the sweet, you get the tart, you get the flavor of the blueberries and the pomegranate. And that's lovely. Good morning. Good morning, Grace and Fire. We are having Blueberry Fields Forever tea this morning. So good. My children love different flavors of tea. We have tea parties. How fun is that? Isn't that fun to have tea parties? But this one, I really like this one. This is one that if I had to put a purchase in, I would consider this one. So far, my favorite is the Merry Mistletoe. And then this one is right up there with it, is the Blueberry Fields Forever. So obviously, I think I really like the fruit teas more than anything. And it's right at the right temperature right now, to where when you swallow the tea, you can feel it go all the way down into your chest, and it just warms your soul. So nice. But you know what? Every day we've been getting together, we have been doing our calendars, our kindness advent calendar. And again, this is from two sixth grade classes at an elementary school. They put together this little advent calendar, and I've been sharing it with you every day. And it's an advent calendar of kindness. And all of the students did the artwork on it. It is so precious. So we're going to open day 5, which has this Rudolph that is sniffing a package. He's nosing it. I love teas. I grew my own, including stevia. It is a hit in my family. Oh, that sounds delicious. I've not grown stevia. I need to add that to my list this year. I've grown some peppermint, some chocolate peppermint, some spearmint. I've got some dried in my pantry, but I've not really put to use yet in a tea. I need to. Oh, wait, hang on here now. It's not letting me open day 5. What's your problem here? Let me refresh. Okay, now it's going to let me open day 5. Aw, this is a cute one. Look at the little drawing by the little kids. Somebody's holding a door open for someone, and the other person saying, thank you. Oh, apple mint, yum. Okay, so day 5. Let's read what these little ones want us to do today from this little elementary school. Don't you hate it when someone opens the door and it slams on you? Now, you have to remember, this is written by little 6th graders. So annoying, right? Your act of kindness today is to hold the door for someone. It's nice if you take a couple of seconds to help someone out, and maybe they will see your kindness and help someone else. You can wait a couple of seconds to help someone out. You can hold the door for anyone, like someone at the store or a teacher at your school. The reason why this act is kind is it shows that there is no trouble between you and the person. If you slam the door on the person, it can hurt them physically and emotionally. This simple act can make their day and make their life a little bit easier. Oh, how sweet. Oh, look, there's another picture. Here's another picture. Thank you. They're so cute. I love these little random acts of kindness by these little 6th graders. And they still have such innocent hearts, and they're so perceptive, because they're right. Not holding a door open for someone and just allowing it slam, not only could it hurt them physically, but they're so perceptive that it could hurt them emotionally. And I'll admit, there's times if my hands are full and I'm coming out and somebody opens the door and lets it slam on me as I'm trying to come through, don't like it. Ooh, Amish friendship bread sounds good. Oh, yes. So Gwen is saying, well, okay, let me back up a little bit, because Grace is saying apple mint is good. Denise says she grew stevia this summer. Lovely. Gwen over at Baroque Cowgirl says, I have Amish friendship bread starter going. It's day 6. And every now and then I smell it, and it smells like some kind of fruit cookies baking. Yum. I love Amish friendship bread. I have a starter saved in my freezer. I haven't been making it lately because of the whole, can't have too many sugar things. But I've made scones with it. All kinds of fun things you can make with that Amish friendship bread starter. I love it. Little House, could you remind me of your first name? If you want to share, otherwise I'll continue to just call you Little House, but you say it's yummy. I have a slip of stevia for you to plant. Ooh, Denise is so great about sharing her plants and her slips. And, she's the one who gifted me the amaryllis plant that I have up in the window. Funny thing, did you guys know this? I did not share this the other day. I'm telling you, sometimes things just come together, and it blows my mind, because Saturday, when Papa Jim was with us on our tea time here, I was discussing the plant that Denise had gifted me, and they're 2 amaryllis bulbs, and we were discussing about how they hadn't bloomed, but she says they will this spring. And Papa Jim says, isn't there a country song about an amaryllis? And I was like, what? And he sings Amaryllis by Morning, making fun of the song Amarillo by Morning by George Strait. You know, later on in the day, we went up to Music Man Square and we were walking around Music Man Square. And I told Papa Jim, I said, it would be really neat to go back again now that we've watched the movie and we know the characters. We didn't know the characters. But inside Music Man Square, there's a replication of a living room or a parlor in a Victorian home. And there's a little girl sitting there and there's a cat curled up on the chair, a piano. She's a character from the movie. I didn't know that at the time. And guess what her name is? Guess what her name is? Hey, Tiny Tim. Good morning, Melissa. I will try to remember that. How could I not remember it, Melissa? There were 2 Melissas in the show. I will do my best, but I promise you it's going to take me a few times, Melissa. And you may have told me before, and it's just been so long since I've had lives, I couldn't remember. So apologies if I already knew but forgot, and apologies if I muck it up in the future, but I will do my best to remember it. Might take me a few times. So anybody want to guess what that little girl's name is in the movie? Give you 5 seconds while I take another sip of my beautiful, beautiful tea. I don't see any guesses coming down. No guesses, no guesses. Just lots of you guys getting your good mornings in, and I love it. Amaryllis. Absolutely, Denise. The little girl's name in the movie is Amaryllis. I've never heard of anybody named Amaryllis. But it was so funny because we had just spent that tea time that morning discussing Amaryllis and Jim sang that silly song. And then we find out that this little girl's name is Amaryllis. It was like, whoa, yes, Gwen, Amaryllis. Gwen and Denise got it. So I just thought that was so funny. I told Papa Jim, isn't that amazing how things like that come together? Any other day, it wouldn't have had any connection at all. But we had spent all that time talking about those Amaryllis plants. And then we go find out her name is Amaryllis. My goodness. So we did watch the movie, as I said. Very, very cute. Ron Howard in it is adorable. He's only 6 years old in this movie. Just absolutely adorable. And as you watch it, if you ever get the chance to watch the movie, it's funny because we're starting to notice more and more things. As we're watching, I told Jim, I said, look at that man back there. Look at that man in that blue cap who's standing behind the main characters. Oh, I have a whole bunch of blue jays. That's a cardinal. I have a female cardinal out on my truck. And I have blue jays. Boy, they're all coming around this morning. I said, there's a man in a blue cap. Do you see him? And Jim's like, yeah, I see him. I said, you know who that is? He's like, no, I don't know who that is. I said, that's Ron Howard's dad. There's Ron Howard's dad in the crowd. I see him. Because he has a face that you can recognize once you realize who he is. He's very recognizable. And then we're watching it. And I said, oh, pause it. Look who that is. Look who that lady in the pink dress sitting in that chair on the left. And he's like, who is it? And I said, look at her. And he says, I don't know who it is. I said, that is Arnold the Pig's mother from Green Acres. He's like, oh yeah, you're right. It is. So we start picking out all these little things. And the more shows from that era that we're watching, the more we see how everybody was kind of cross-cast into different things. And it's fun to catch them. We're starting the Waltons series. We finished Little House on the Prairie and with the E. And now we're moving on to the Waltons. And in the very first episode of the Waltons, it's called the Foundling. I paused it. I said to Jim, do you see who it is? Do you see who it is? And he's like, no. I said, look at the lady. And it was Charlotte Stewart. Charlotte Stewart plays Miss Beadle in Little House on the Prairie. And she was in episode 1 of the Waltons. I love Easter eggs in films. Oh my gosh. Okay. Speaking of Easter eggs in films, it might be that you won't notice the Easter eggs as much as I did, but I do want to recommend a movie. I put a link to it on my Facebook page, but I'll tell you about it here. In the garden this year, there were 4 female cardinals that came at one time. Oh, how lovely. I mean, they're just all over my car. I don't know what it is about my truck today. I wish I had something to take out to them right at this moment. I don't know if the blueberry and pomegranate and all this, I don't know if the tea, I don't know if that's something that I don't want to poison them accidentally. I'll have to look into that. If I can give them my brewed tea leftovers, if they can have it, that would be a neat thing to give them, because then they could pick out all the little things that they like. I told myself not to forget what I was talking about. And the movie. Sometimes I'm my own worst enemy. Okay, so when I lived in California, I met a wonderful family through the Chamber of Commerce and through some things that I had done. I used to do a lot of work with the Chamber of Commerce as a representative of the community that we lived in. And there was a family that really kind of put all of that together for those of us who wanted to be involved in the community. And when I met this family, they had a child, they had an only child, little girl. And I met her when she was 6 years old. And I just loved her. And there would be times when we would be out at events for the Chamber of Commerce, and she would come sidle up next to me and just kind of squeeze in next to me and sit and talk. And we just had a nice little friendship. She was just a sweet little thing. And years later, as I knew her as she grew up, we would see each other at all these different events and stuff. And then I used to have my own housekeeping business, and I started cleaning house for them. So I was very involved with their lives. I watched her go from, this little 6-year-old to a preteen to a teen, and was invited over for Christmas parties at their home and knew her grandparents very well. And she has done some amazing things in her life lately. And one of them is she has started to, she's a published author, and now she has written a story that has been turned into a movie. And I was waiting for it to get to the point to where I could, either rent it or buy it and watch it, because I'd been hearing good things. It's won several awards at little film festivals like Idlewild Festival of the Arts and the Palm Springs Film Festival, things like that. Show Low in Arizona, the film festival. She's gotten all these little awards for this movie. Well, her mother posted the other day, and her mother is the producer of the movie and producer. They all have their fingers in it, right? They've all dipped their toes in this movie. Anyways, she had posted that the day had arrived that it was available. It's available at Redbox. It's available on Amazon Prime. It's available on Tubi. There's all these different applications that you're able to watch her movie. And so I let her mother know right away, I'm going to watch it. And right away, I started picking up on the Easter eggs, right? So the very first thing is I see that she dedicated the movie to her grandmother, who had passed away a couple of years ago. And I was just like, I start crying because I knew the grandma. And she was such a sweet lady. She was so much fun. And she always treated me so kindly. And so I'm watching it, and then I start seeing all these little Easter eggs. There's a scene in a movie theater, and the poster in the background is another movie that the mother was a producer on. And then I see where the girl in the movie is scrolling through her phone, and I see little pictures of the book that she has written. So it's kind of like she's scrolling, but she's seeing her own stuff. It's like little Easter eggs planted all through there. So Gwen says, we have cardinals year round here, but notice them more in the winter. I think because all the leaves are gone, they just stand out more. Yeah, I agree. I love we get the bluebirds and the blue jays and the cardinals. We get the yellow breasted finches, which is our state bird. And I just love all the little songbirds while they're out there. So anyways, if you get a chance, you can watch the movie on streaming platforms. I have the hiccups now. And so I watched it on Tubi, and you can see it on Amazon Prime, like I said. And if you're friends with me on Facebook, you can go back and see the link where she's kind of dancing in front of her TV, and she points, and all of the different streaming apps pop up there. You can watch her little movie. It's not your typical Hallmark feel-good romance movie. It's not that, but it really is a really good movie in its own right. I was so proud of her when I watched it. And then the next day I had Jim watch it, and he goes, she did really good. And I was like, right? I think she's still in her 20s. And here she has a movie that has gone out now where it's out in the mainstream. So the name of her movie is #blessed. So you spell out the word hashtag. So it's #blessed the movie. And it's a very, very sweet story. I could see cameos of people that I knew in there. I picked up on all the little Easter eggs and realized that I understand who the her counterpart in the movie is. I don't want to give too much away. But I picked up on who these people are, and I picked up on some personal notes of the journey in this movie. Really, really neat little movie. If you get a chance to go see it, #blessed the movie. And if you watch it on Amazon Prime and you could give her a little review, that would be great too. And I get nothing for this. I just want to give her props because I'm very proud of her. To know somebody since they were 6 years old and see them blossom the way that she has is just a wonderful, wonderful thing. So let's see what else is happening. We're at 50 minutes. I'll be wrapping this up here shortly. Let's take another sip. Oh my God. I wish you could see the color of this tea. It is just so absolutely gorgeous. If I hold it up, I mean, that doesn't give it, I mean, that just looks brown. It is red like a pomegranate. So pretty. Oh, that's good. All right, friends, let's go ahead and wrap things up here. So your challenge for today for your kindness is, according to the little 6th graders, if you get the chance, hold the door open for someone. It doesn't cost you anything. And it is a kindness that maybe they'll pay forward. And it'll make you feel good too when you do that. Sometimes I hold it for 3, 4, 5 people. Come on through. I got the door. There's no sense in trying to get the next person and the next person. Just hold the door open. Oh, I know what I want to talk to you about. Remind me this. And then the other one is to do a Post-it note, a little anonymous Post-it note somewhere that just lets someone know a really nice positive affirmation, whatever one you want to come up with. If you look on the internet, you can find pages that will give you examples of positive affirmations to put on the little things. Here's what I wanted to tell you. I shared with you before that Papa Jim and I are going to a Christmas party this Saturday. I'm hoping we'll feel well enough to go because poor Papa Jim, he isn't feeling good at the moment. But it is a Christmas party for a Civil War reenactment troupe. And there's going to be several different regiments coming from the entire state of Iowa to this Christmas party. They'll be in their uniforms and everything for their whole reenactment. I've been asked to sit at a table and share a little bit about what we saw when we went to the battlefields down in Tennessee and in Georgia. And I don't have any Civil War clothing. I don't. Maybe someday I will. But I have a black skirt. I can put on a nice shirt and I can crochet myself a shawl real quick. I thought I would do a shawl, a really nice plain shirt, and a skirt. You're a Civil War reenactor, Melissa? Okay, well then let me know this. I mean, my hair is to the point right now, I just really don't know what I would do with it, but I'm going to crochet myself a snood. Now, Melissa will know what a snood is. Does everyone else here know what a snood is? Oh my God, I have a funny story about the word snood. Anyways, so a snood, if you think about the ladies during the Civil War era and also in like the 30s, 40s, and 50s during World War II time, the ladies would put their hair up. It's almost like a little crocheted hairnet. It hangs down loose in the back, and then they either tie it or clip it up at the top, and it just kind of confines all their hair. Very classic, very pretty. I want to crochet myself a snood to wear to the Christmas party. So I thought I would take the front of my hair and just kind of put it up in a clip, kind of bump it out in front a little bit, collect the rest of my hair and put it in a snood, and then have the clip hold the snood. I want to know what color should I make the snood. Now, I'm not going to color my hair before we go. Usually my hair is a bright magenta pink and it's washed out quite a bit. I'm not going to do that before we go. So it'll be this rose gold color. And I was thinking of 3 colors that I could do for this Christmas party. I thought I would either do a snood in white, in black, or in red. And it would be like a cherry red. It would be a bright red, not maroon red like this. It would be a little bit, or I have maroon too. I have maroon, I have red, I have all kinds of colors. So I want to crochet a snood. I might do that today once my chores are done. And I'm going to wear it to the Civil War reenactment Christmas party. So let me know what you think. What color should I make the snood? Now that I've shared with you what a snood is, I have to tell you this story before we go because it's so funny. When I worked back at the school, we had a new teacher start one day, and I was showing him where he would be teaching his class. He was a computer teacher, and so we had everything set up. And, this is back when we had our first computer at our house. This was, 2004, 2005, when we had just cherry red, says Nicole. I kind of like that idea too. So this new computer teacher, and you try to find things where you can break the ice and talk to people, and he's a computer nerd, and I really don't know that much about computer at all. I mean, I was having a hard time learning how to do an Excel spreadsheet. So, I mean, I was really, really new to all of this stuff. And he's standing at my desk and we're just kind of chit-chatting, and I thought, well, he knows computers, and the only thing I really do on a computer when I get home is I like to play a game. There's a game. It was kind of similar to maybe like Space Invaders type of a game, or even more now. Currently, it's probably more like Candy Crush. And it just had little monsters, and you line them up, and it was called Snood, Snood. And I thought, well, I'll try to relate a little bit to him, and I'll ask him. I said, do you, when you're at home and you're on your computer and stuff, do you play Snood? You could really tell he was taken aback. He was like, oh. And he stumbled for a little bit over his words, and he says, well, sometimes, but, most of the time I have my clothes on. And I said, what? He goes, well, sometimes I play in the nude. Excuse me? He goes, well, didn't you just ask me if I play my computer in the nude? I said, no, I asked you if you play Snood. It's a game. He was so embarrassed. I was embarrassed. I mean, here's a new male coworker. Could you imagine getting pulled into HR on that one? I actually kind of got a little embarrassed every time he came in to teach a class. I was almost like, there's that man who admits that it's not so bad that I asked him and he thought I asked him if he played in the nude. What was embarrassing is his reply that sometimes he does go on his computer in the nude. Oops, indeed. Oh, and the thing is his wife worked at the school too. So it's like I had to interact with his wife, and I never knew if he said anything to her. And I mean, it was innocent, but then I also had that little added bit of guilt. Like, I know that your husband plays games on his computer in the nude. Oh my gosh. Oh, he's no longer with us. So it's nothing negative. It's a fun story. It's not like I'm speaking ill of those who can't defend themselves. My God, so funny. There was another time we had a male substitute teacher show up, and we had two campuses about 4 miles from each other. And I had to leave the one campus where the director had not showed up yet. So I was the site facilitator. So basically like a vice principal. And I had to run over to the other site to get this substitute teacher settled in with his class, and then rush back over because I needed to be on this campus. And so I rush over, meet him, show him what he needs to do. And it's kind of frenetic, right? Here's this. I got to go. And as I'm walking out the door, you know how you get into just different, you get into routines, right? So that was at the stage of my life where both Jim and I would be rushing out the door at the same time in the morning. It's like, do this. Okay, love you, bye. And we'd go on our separate ways. So I'm getting this man all set up in his classroom. It's like this. And I get to the door. It's like, okay, I love you, bye. And as soon as I said it, it was like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? And he looked at me funny. He's like, love you too. But the thing is just then the Mrs. Kravitz of the school was walking by. The Harriet Nelson of the school was walking by. Just when I tell this complete stranger, who was a decent looking man, that I loved him, she looked at me. She goes, I knew it. I knew it. I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to tell everybody that I told this total random stranger that I loved him. Of course, I had to rush home that day and tell Jim what I had done before the rumor mill hit him. You're familiar with snoods, but not sure which color would be best. I know. Maybe I'll make 2 of them just so I can have them on hand. I'm thinking, I don't know how much black yarn I have upstairs, but I thought if I wore a nice shirt, I have a black skirt. I'll have to wear some pants underneath it because it's not like a colonial era skirt. It's not a Civil War era skirt. It's a thin summer skirt, but it's black. So I can wear my boots underneath it, the black skirt. I thought I'd see if I could just find a nice little white button-up shirt or even just a pullover shirt, and then have a shawl. And then have the snood. And I just thought that would be nice. A natural wool might be more authentic. I know, it's funny that you mentioned that, Tim, because this Civil War reenactment group, the gentleman has asked me to make them some beanies they want some winter beanies. And he sent me a picture of another battalion or infantry group or whatever, and they have their beanies. They're all sitting around having a beverage. It looks like they're at a tavern or something, it looks authentically old. And they all have these bright red caps on, these beanie caps, but they almost look like Papa Smurf's cap because they're kind of extended at the top. They're not a slouch beanie, but they're a taller beanie. And he says, can you make some of these for us? He goes, I want it in bright red and I want it in a soft material. And I thought, okay, a really nice wool blend would be nice because it'll last longer. I won't have to worry about the acrylic yarn being too harsh or pilling over time where it gets the little balls, the little pill balls. And so when we were up at the Music Man Hall this last weekend, while we were up in the big city, we drove around. I went to 3 different places and nobody had a really nice wool blend yarn in bright red. I understand it's the wrong time of year to get red because everybody's crocheting things that are red. So I then went online and I looked for a wool blend from Lion's, a lion yarn. I can't think of it off the top of my head for some reason. But they only have it in a maroon. It's like this maroon color. And he said he didn't necessarily want maroon. He wants a bright red. So I'm having a hard time where I'm at. I mean, I might have to do a little bit more research online, but I don't know. I made him a beanie that I'll take this Saturday and just see if he likes the style. He said the other ones were knitted, but he wanted it crocheted. So I just did a really nice one, but it's difficult. Like even right now, Tim, if I wanted, I could check what I've got upstairs. I might have a wool blend or an alpaca blend upstairs for my snood. But for me to go right now to go buy a wool blend to make my snood so it would be more authentic, it would be an 80-mile round trip. Hobby Lobby would be 80 miles away. And I tried Hobby Lobby and they only had the Lions brand. They had the Wool Ease, but they did not have it in the red. And I checked that Lions brand and they do not have a fire red available, just the maroon red. So I'm looking. You've gotten wool from Hobby Lobby. They had a very limited selection at the Hobby Lobby where I went, and they did not have what I needed. I was really surprised. They didn't have, at this Hobby Lobby, they didn't have more bamboo blends or wool blends. They had a very limited supply. So I don't know. I mean, if I go to the next available Hobby Lobby, it's probably a 150-mile round trip. So maybe I could order some and have it brought in. But, colors are deceiving. I don't know if it would be what I want until I got it here. And then what if I feel it and it's not what I want? Here's my idea, though, that I'm thinking of doing. I'm going to make a second hat out of the acrylic that I have in the bright red that he wants. And I know I can't felt it because it's not wool, but I did see a video the other day where you can kind of brush it to give it that felt look. And I'm wondering if I do that and distress it a bit, soften it up with some fabric softener, if it will give it almost like a little bit of a felted look, and then maybe it won't look so worn out over a couple of years. I don't know. So I do have the brush. It's like a carding brush that you would use for wool. And so I think I'm going to crochet another hat, leave one regular, and then card the second and see if it just kind of gives it like a brushed yarn look. Maybe that will be a little bit more authentic looking. So we'll see. I'm just going to do a couple of samples for him. He can choose what he likes, or we can go back to the drawing board and see if there's something else. But for the snood, I don't have a lot of things available up in my craft room's full of yarn though, but I'm afraid I'll probably have to do acrylic unless I have an alpaca blend left over. I might have an alpaca blend left over, but it would just be a natural color. It wouldn't be any of the colors I suggested earlier, Christmassy colors, but, and I don't want to dye it. So yeah, I'm going to try a few different things with it. I'll let you guys know how it turns out. But for the snood, I'm going to give a snood a couple of attempts today. I've never made a snood. I'm sure I can do it. I've made little berets before, little open berets with an open, beautiful design. So I'm sure it's no different. I'll just have a smaller little bit of a beret type hat, put a little drawstring in it so I can draw it up and pull all the hair up in the back. You think that the fact that I'm trying is amazing. Thank you. I am trying. And, like I said, we went to 3 different stores and we're pretty rural. So to go up into a big town and try 3 different stores and not find what I wanted. And I even asked the people that work there, it's like, can you help me find what I need? And they're like, they tried. They didn't find what I needed. So I just don't know if it was the wrong time of year to try to get that pretty Christmassy red, or if maybe just some of the wool blends aren't putting out a solid red. There was some that was, I did find a really nice wool, and it was a wool blend, and it was a chunky. I mean, I can make the hats out of chunky, but it was a red and white, or they had a red and black twist. And it's like, now you're talking hats that are going to look like candy canes, or hats that are going to, look like this by the time I get it all together. The public loves our reenactment, but we have few people that want to join. You know what? I think it's just one of those niches. I know that the guy who's doing this one, he's really wanting us to join. I think it would be amazing. Jim's a little bit on the fence. He's not quite sure. I mean, I know it's his thing. He's just got some reservations. So, and it's his decision. But I definitely want to go to the Christmas party. And like I was saying yesterday, they made hardtack Christmas tree ornaments. And on the back of the hardtack Christmas tree ornaments is the name and a picture of a Civil War soldier. And so you get to go to the party and you actually get to take one of the hardtack Christmas tree ornaments and you get to keep it. You get to take it home with you. And then when you leave, as you leave, you can find out what happened to that soldier, where they fought, what their what infantry or artillery group they were signed up with. Did they survive? Were they a prisoner of war? Were they killed in action? You get to find out all the stuff about the soldier when you leave. So I think that's really cool. LG, hello. I imagine this is Lori. We're just now getting things wrapped up because we've been on for an hour already, Lori, but we've been talking about all kinds of fun stuff. If you get a chance, watch the replay. Today we are having Blueberry Fields Forever. I live in the West and it's more popular in the East. Yes. I have my great-great-grandpa's muzzle loader from 1800s, not shootable. That is pretty neat. That's pretty neat, Tim. Yeah, it is a neat idea for the Christmas gifts that the visitors get to take home. So I think Papa Jim's interested. I know he is. He's going to be the old man of the group. Those are his words, not mine. And I just think he wants to make sure he doesn't do anything or that something's not expected of him that's going to be too taxing for him. He and the boys 2 falls ago, they went to another state and they did some training. So kind of like grid down situation, training, defend your property, things like that. And Papa Jim says, we were halfway through one of our exercises. He goes, I was going to have a heart attack. And I just had to give up. So he doesn't want to do something that's going to be too strenuous for him. So keeping in mind that the other people are close to the same age. One gentleman's just had a leg amputated. So I don't think it's going to be too different. You're the laundress. Oh, how sweet. I like that. Oh, a different LG, not LG Homestead. They are awesome. I'm sorry, I didn't understand the difference. Well, welcome, LG. Oh, yeah, it does just say LG. I'm sorry. Well, if you have a first name you'd like to share. If not, that's quite all right. I'll just call you LG. And I apologize for the mix-up. That happens quite a bit. I really thought about the name for my channel for a long, long time before I did mine. And I had it up for several months before a friend of mine said, there's another channel with a name that's kind of close to yours. I was like, really? And she goes, yeah. And I found it, and I can't remember what it is. It's not Country Mama. I can't think of what it is. Manic Mama Musings. Like, oh my gosh. So I had to tell my friends, like, I didn't copy her. I've gone by this for a while. So, I was going to say something. Oh, so Melissa is the laundress. I'm not sure what I want to do, but I did ask if I could be a nurse, be a medical attendant, because they're going to have the things set up. You know how it is. But I could just see me running around with an apron and my little bottle of laudanum and, putting it over soldiers' faces and telling them to lay down while somebody saws their leg off. I don't know why that appeals to me. I think it's based on a book that I just read. Melissa, if you haven't read it yet, read With This Pledge. You can get it at the library. The author's last name is Anderson. And it is based on true letters about some of the people who were involved at the Carnton plantation in Franklin for the Battle of Franklin. And it is the governess of the children and a soldier that she tended to. And it's based on their letters back and forth. Very, very, very neat. But I think because she was pulled in this story to help the surgeons when they were bringing all of the wounded in from the battlefield, I think I kind of related to that. So I've picked out my name. Regardless of what I do, whatever they put me, there's not a lot of women in this group that's meeting. So they're hoping to get more women and start a women's auxiliary. But nurse, or, I'd be perfectly happy being one of those ladies that stay back at camp while the fire's going and tend to the fire and sit and crochet and have people come by and see the realistic setup. And maybe they'll buy a snoot or two. I don't know. I'll be happy either way. As long as I'm not like sleeping on the ground, I better have a cot. And as long as I don't have to lift anything heavy and exert myself, I think we'll be okay. And I'm not sleeping in the snow. But there is a big reenactment coming up, I believe, in September or October at Winterset, Iowa, which is home of John Wayne and where the bridges of Madison County are. And so I'm really interested in going that because they're going to have the whole battlefield with the cannons and everything. I once went to Pea Ridge, Arkansas battlefield Civil War reenacting. Isn't that neat, Tim? I love it. Your name is very nice, says LG. I am just LG. And to keep it simple, when YouTube had us make handles, mine is at Hello LG. Well, hello LG. We'll just keep it at that. And that is wonderful. I looked for Papa Jim to attend a Civil War reenactment when we went down on our trip through Tennessee and Georgia, and there weren't any. And I had gotten in touch with some historians and asked, is there anything that you're aware of? Because I know that he would really like to see that. And they didn't have anything. So this is where I think it would be neat that, as soon as we came back from our trip and all of a sudden I start learning that there's this Civil War reenactment group that's going to start having meetings in our area in an authentic Civil War soldier memorial hall that was built in 1879. Who wouldn't want to participate in that, right? And they have uniforms for him. They have all kinds of uniforms. They have everything he would need to get started. And the one gentleman said, my wife is a seamstress. We can sew things for you. And I was like, oh, well, maybe that would be a good thing too. But I've been going to the thrift store to see if I can find like a really nice, maybe a wool skirt. I'd like to have the really nice top with the wide sleeves because I have bigger arms, and then wear the little cuffs that go on your arms. It started snowing and you left. It would be too cold to stay. Could you imagine? Okay, so it started snowing, so you left. Could you imagine the poor soldiers in reality when they're fighting in November and December and there's snow on the ground and they didn't have shoes? Many of the men walked to their next battlefield barefoot. Can you imagine? And even in this book that I mentioned with this pledge, it got down to 17 degrees that night. Oh my goodness. The battle at Franklin happened on November 30th, 1864. And the plantation, the Carnton plantation, they had brought a lot of the injured Confederate soldiers there, and they had surgeons there amputating right and left, literally. But they ran out of room in the home. So there were soldiers out on the front lawn in the snow. And they were either post-surgical, waiting to be operated on, mortally wounded and lying there dying in the snow, or some of them just convalesced in the snow for days. How horrible. It just amazing stuff. I learned so much on this trip. And so it kind of sparked a fire in me, if you can't tell. But the book with this pledge, it is a fictional book based on actual historical events and real letters. And what I found really neat, and this is another one of those instances where I wish I would have known a little bit. I wish I would have read the book before I visited the plantation. Because as we're going through the plantation and a historian is taking us through and showing us different rooms and telling us about the different family members, it was nice. I retained it. It was a nice story. I remember being in the bedroom of the little boy who was, I think, 5 or 6 years old. His name was Winder. I remember being in his bedroom and looking at his furniture and looking at the makeshift operating table where there was the window where, they could just pile things up. But once I read the book and I knew a little bit about Winder and I knew about his room and what was cherished to him, and you get a layout for everything, it would have been so much richer going up into that room going, I know this about this little boy. I know this about his family. I know this about what happened here. I know about the surgeries that took place here. I knew about, how they had so many soldiers piled in every room of that house that they were even putting them in the little cubbies underneath the stairs, sitting up in a little corner because there was nowhere to put them. There were so many wounded. Amazing. What tea am I drinking? Today I am drinking Blueberry Fields Forever. Blueberry pomegranate. It had all kinds of beautiful things in it. It is really, really nice. I'm really enjoying this one, Tim. It has apple, oolong tea, hibiscus blossoms, bean peels, which I don't know, bean peels? What? Blueberry and pomegranate flavorings, which are natural ones, blueberry leaves, elderberries. I missed the elderberries when I mentioned this before. Elderberries, that's good. Violet blossoms, butterfly pea flowers, cornflower, blueberries, pomegranate blossoms, and stevia. Beautiful, beautiful ingredients. It does put more perspective on the situation. Absolutely. Having been there, I feel it's made the stories more personable now. I know the people. I researched one family before we went on this trip to the point where I really felt I knew a lot. But then standing in their home in the basement, I was just weeping. I just had tears running down my face as I'm hearing more historical things about this family, and to actually be standing where they were during the Battle of Franklin. And it was, as a mother, it was gut wrenching to hear about these boys, these young boys that are out in the fields as they're dying, crying for their mothers. I'm going to cry. Okay. I need to stop right there. But I'll be sharing some more of that. I have videos that I have to edit, some really great videos from these Civil War places that we visited. I've got I'm still editing stuff from some of our travels in May. I've got to get stuff going. Yes, wonderful ingredients. I recommend this one. I like this one. Blueberry Fields Forever. It's not entirely still hot, but it's still palatable. Love it. I know. Isn't that sad? I'll share with you, Laura. The place where we were, where everybody was in the basement, their son was in the war. And they had not heard from their son in a long, long time. They did not know where their son was. Unbeknownst to them, their son had been taken as a prisoner of war and was shipped up north, escaped, had come back south, did not go home, went right back to his regiment. And before this battle, he had been given a 3-day furlough, but he didn't take it. He stayed with his men. He was a captain in the Confederate Army. And they're on the way up to Franklin. And Franklin is where he was born and raised. And he's less than 2 football fields from his home, where his family is. And as they're getting ready for battle, he says to his men, reportedly, "Follow me, boys, I'm going home." They go off into battle. The family's in the basement for hours. It's the bloodiest 5 hours, this battle at Franklin. I mean, there's been a lot of bloody battles in the Civil War, but this was the bloodiest 5 hours. Somebody comes, when they come up out of the basement, somebody comes to their home and says, is this the home where so-and-so lives? Is this his family? And they're like, yes. They're like, your son's been shot. He's about 175 yards to the southeast, and he's still alive. So this family, his sisters, and I think his father, and some of their help, they go out with lanterns to find their son and brother. Every imaginable place is just littered with injured, dead, and dying soldiers. You can't walk without stepping on somebody. It's just plastered with bodies. And as they're walking, they're turning people over and looking at them, and it's not their son, so they lay them back down and they continue on to the next one. But some of these men aren't dead. They're crying for help. They're begging for help, and they see a lantern coming towards them, and they think that they're going to get the help they need as they're in so much pain and they've been injured. And somebody rolls them over and looks at them, and they're like, I'm sorry. And they lay them back down and they continue on. And as a mother, I was like, oh my God, I can't imagine passing up all of these young boys who are begging for their mothers, crying to die because they're in so much pain, begging for help. And one by one, you're turning people over and then rolling them back over so that you can find your son. Somebody said, Janice, hello, Janice. It breaks my heart too. I'm telling you, I was just weeping as the historian was telling us this story. I was the only one in the basement. We were in the basement of this home, 15 people maybe. And I'm just like sobbing with tears running down my face because I know the story of the family. And the thing is they found their son. They brought him home. And he had been shot 9 times. 9 times he had been shot. They called a surgeon. The surgeon removed a bullet from his head. And he was in the parlor of the home where he was born. And I believe 2 days later is when he passed away. And reportedly his last and final words were home. Home. He'd made it home. And then he died surrounded by his family, which is, that's a terrible thing that he died. But what a blessing that he was surrounded by his family and loved ones in a warm, familiar place where he could go in peace when you think about all the boys that were out there in the snow dying. Bawled my eyes out. Little too close to home having a son that went to war. Yes, I have a son in the Army. No longer in the Army, but he was in the Army. And yeah, it's, and maybe that's why it affected me so much, because I had a son in the Army, and maybe it was a little close to home, but I'm an empath by nature, and just things like that just got to me. And so when we went to the next place, which is where the home had been turned into the field hospital, I had told the historian, it's like, so-and-so over at the other place reduced me to tears. She did the same. She reduced me to tears while we're up in that little boy's bedroom where the soldiers were being operated on. And she told stories about how some of the survivors had relayed their stories. And some of them said, as they laid there, not knowing if they were going to live or die, the only thing they could think of, they would like have flashbacks. And what got them through was just images of their mother hanging the clothes on the line and watching the clothes blow in the breeze as she hung the clothes on the line. Oh, I started crying because they said so many men, all they wanted was their mamas. That's all they wanted was their mamas. Yes, at least he was home. At least he was home. Thank God for that. Yes, absolutely. Tim wants to know where I got my tea. I got my tea. This is a gift from Papa Jim. It is David's tea. It's 24 days of tea. And Tim, if you have not seen this, look at that. It's a little advent calendar. And every day we pull out the tea and we try it. So it is a complete surprise to me. I never know what I'm going to get. So today was Blueberry Fields Forever with all of those beautiful ingredients in it. And I'll come back tomorrow and we'll do another tea. It's an amazing thing to have a home that you are welcome with, family that are willing to search for you, bring you home and do what they could to help you. Ugh. Heartbreaking on so many levels. And he was so young. He was so young and such a sweet looking boy. I'm telling you, the more you get involved in these things, and like you said, it puts a human perspective on it. It makes the stories personal. I was sharing with the historians while I was down there. I said, as children in school, we are taught dates, we are taught locations, we are taught some names, and it's rote information that we have to memorize so that we can pass the test. But we don't internalize it. We don't personalize it. We don't become familiar with what really happened in the wars. But when you go to these places and you hear these stories, it makes it real. And I was sharing with my son some of these things I want to share. He says, Mom, you're going to have to be careful because you're dealing with a civil war, North versus South. People are going to have their beliefs one way or the other. And I told him, I said, it doesn't matter North or South. It doesn't matter what side you find yourself leaning with based on your own personal beliefs. This is a story of people. This is real. Both sides lost men. Both sides had children out there on the line. Both families, North and South, suffered. So take the politics out of it and just look at the raw humanity of it. And there's stories that need to be shared. And the one historian who really moved me to sobbing, he shared with me, he says, you can take a beautiful piece of music and you remove notes out of the beautiful piece of music. And by the time you remove the notes here and there, the music doesn't make sense anymore. You've taken that symphony and you've butchered it, and the music doesn't flow. The same for history. We can take out bits of history that make us uncomfortable, but it's still history. It's still part of the music. You can't pick out the notes you don't like and then still expect the music to make sense. History is a symphony. It has to remain whole in order for the music to make sense. It was such a wonderful way of putting it. So that's why I'm going to be sharing these stories. I'll be sharing them. Since I went to the South, most of the stories I've learned about are stories of Confederate soldiers. I'm going to be sharing it with federal troops, in this reenactment thing. So that's what I try to do with your reenactment. Yes. And yes, Minnie, we're so young. So yeah, isn't it a lovely gift, the tea set? And then some of you may not see it. I didn't use it today. I'll be using it for the more fruit infusions, but look at that bunny rabbit. I'll put him in my cup so you can see him in action. Sometimes you can put the fruit infusion teas and put them in there, and then he sits in your cup and the hot water infuses the tea, but I didn't do it today. It has to be for certain ones, and because it doesn't infuse as well as I would like. So, okay, guys, we're 1 hour and 26 minutes. I've got things to do. You preach, girl. Thank you, Laura. Thank you. I'm going to go. I've got things to do. I've got dishes to wash because I just ignored them this weekend as I spent time with Papa Jim. And I've got a snood to crochet. If I get it done today, I'll share it with you tomorrow. If not, it'll be in the next couple of days. And we'll just go from there. So thank you so much for joining me, guys. I'm so thankful. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on the way out. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me today. I really do appreciate it as I ramble on and on and on and on. And I hope to see you tomorrow. What flavor will we get? I don't know, but I'll be excited to see. Yes, everybody else has to get moving too. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Do those acts of kindness, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. End the broadcast. End the broadcast. Bye, friends.